And it's time now for Business News with Nicholas Poynton. Nicholas, you're telling me Toyota New Zealand is reigniting discussions around a fee-based scheme. Well, what is that? Some people will ask. And what are they talking about?
Well, I think we'll start with that fee-based scheme. Remember, it was a policy that was sort of tabled by the previous government, by two of the coalition partners. And that's a situation where you put a levy on high-emitting vehicles or cars, gas guzzlers, and you use the money that's generated from that levy to subsidise low-emitting cars. So think hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles. But that deal, if we remember last year, that was scuttled by the then coalition partner, New Zealand First, didn't receive their backing. That policy did not get across the line. So the head of Toyota New Zealand, though, they say that there is an urgent need for a fee-based scheme to make electrified vehicles more affordable. He says that the country, if they don't act on this, it will fail to follow through on our Paris Agreement commitments to be carbon neutral by 2050 if we don't slash the emissions of our vehicle fleet. He says that other countries have already taken action on this, and if New Zealand doesn't follow suit, we could be a dumping ground for other countries' gas guzzlers. The hyperbolic term that he used was that we could become the Cuba of the South Pacific. However, in his statement, he didn't really go on to explain what he actually meant by that or how that would actually even happen. But look, that aside, the CEO said in a statement that he's made contact with the Transport Minister, Michael Wood, about the need for financial incentives for low-emitting vehicles because low emissions do carry a hefty price tag. Those electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, they do tend to be out of the price range of most New Zealanders, but to make them affordable, well, the manufacturer says they're not going to carry a cost, so a fee-based scheme would be needed to sort of subsidise the cost of those vehicles.
And there's not as many wafting around on the second-hand market as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing. A lot of the new vehicles that do come into this country, they are not many of them have made it through to the secondary market, and then you have those imports, and they can be quite undesirable because with the hybrid vehicles in particular, their batteries, they're not recyclable. So after about 250,000 Ks, you need to replace that. That's an expensive job to do. So some of the second-hand vehicles aren't as appealing. Yep. But look, it's worth noting that Toyota does have a lot of interest in this. They would benefit from a fee-based scheme. It is the biggest seller of hybrid vehicles in this country. So a fee-based scheme would allow it to bring down the price of those vehicles so it would be able to compete against its competitors' sort of petrol equivalents. It also may be competing against their own petrol cars. But it's also worth adding that their big gas guzzlers, the Toyota Hilux, that was the second highest selling car in New Zealand last year. It's well on track to be the second highest selling car this year again, and the majority of the sales of that car goes to the commercial sector. So think construction work, people working construction sites, builders, farmers, and even if you introduced a fee-based scheme, you can probably imagine that the demand for those cars wouldn't be affected. Those people who, realistically, they do need those cars to do UT type things, that they're still going to always need them, right?
That's a technical term, UT type things.
Exactly,
yes.
They're still going to need them. So you can imagine those people will be pretty frustrated by the fact that they'll be the ones who'll be essentially subsidising those people in the cities who are getting the electric and hybrid vehicles.
And Toyota is still pushing those vehicles hard. I mean, they've got a new marketing campaign as well. Hey, have you got some intel on us?
Oh, well, yes.
What
and
intel have you got here,
This is
Nicholas?
also probably worth mentioning that when this statement came out, I did give the spokesperson a call and just to find out what car that the chief executive of Toyota drives. And he owns a Toyota Supra, which is the company's top-end high-performance vehicle. It has a 3-litre petrol-driven powered twin-turbo engine. But I have been told that he does cycle through some other cars. He doesn't drive that car all the time.
Very interesting, Nicholas. Now, let's jump ahead to the markets. What's been happening today?
Yeah, sure. The NZX, it closed down 17.5 points to 12,649. Our dollar, it's at 70.6 US cents, 95 Australian, 52.5 British pence. And Bitcoin, it has made back its losses from last week and then some. It's now back to 27,283 New Zealand dollars for a single Bitcoin.
Wow, those are some big numbers. Thanks, Nicholas. Nicholas Poynton with Business News there.